It's a Friday, which means really one thing and one thing only to start our weekend off. It's got to be done one way.
Come on, man. Go for it, dude.
It's Friday. Friday. Day.
John here, you there, SDH AM, and we're stacked. I know that surprises none of you. So here's the deal. Coming up, batting leadoff, we had to kind of juggle the batting order a little bit. Greg Garza is going to join us in a couple of minutes. We've got him until 9:30. We'll find out what it's like being a dad and being a mentor, and these days, and kind of the atmosphere around when he's touring with his son, who is styling and profiling on the field, and kind of what his spidey senses are telling him these days when it comes to being a mentor, being a dad, balancing them both. And that'll start things off. We got to find out what it's like for him to hang out with the Hoff and what it's like to do that stuff with Atlanta United of the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. And we got the stuff that we'll get into there. 9:30, we'll get you ready for the weekend. Major League Soccer will let you know what's going on, who's in the middle and where, plus all of the news that's going on. We do have a couple of things going on overseas that we need to get into. 10 o'clock, Steve Cangialosi is going to join us for our weekly visit from our friends at Apple TV. 10:30, remember yesterday, Niko had to reschedule because he was going to go see his son at Washington State. He had to leave early, so he's in today at 10:30. And we might have a surprise guest that may not necessarily be a surprise because I know he's coming in, I think, but it's dependent on an airplane. So we'll see what happens there. Could be in the 9:30 half hour, could be at 11 o'clock, depends on when the connecting flight is going to behave, considering the reschedule is going to behave, considering the connecting flight misbehaved this morning. So we might have a guest coming in as well to kind of break everything down from another guesting perspective in Major League Soccer. So that is the rundown this morning. And we have efforted the opportunity we've reached out to the folks that are doing the Road to 26 stuff. And I want to see if we can next week catch up with them and find out how they got Kyle Field into this and how they got Jordan Hare into this. So I kind of wanted to get into the hows and the whys and the wherefores and all that kind of stuff with them. So we've reached out, and hopefully we will see how they ended up getting those two SEC venues as a part of Argentina's tour before the World Cup starts in early June. Today, 5-7, it is an opportunity for us once again to give you Football Friday, FUTBOL in Georgia. Whitfield Academy hosting AIS. Girls and boys, 5-7. And that'll be on the network. It'll be a chance for us to see one of the top teams on the boys' side and to see what's going on at AIS, who in single A private, they are making their inroads as they always do. And we'll see how that works in the single to triple private division here in the GHSA in the playoffs. But Whitfield and AIS at the end of spring break week, I'm interested to see what the rosters look like. I want to see what's going on with these two clubs. On the men's side, Whitfield has lost once. They've tied once. AIS is 9-5. And on the girls' side, we'll see what it's been like this season for AIS and for Whitfield as well. And so that'll come up here at 5-7 on the network. Go to soccerdownhere.net, hit the listen tab. You'll see the big red live notification going on, and that's where those games will be. We'll let you know what the schedule is for the remainder. Now, as promised, we got to juggle the batting order, and so he's batting leadoff today. Our buddy Greg Garza.
Good morning.
Morning. So
in a minute.
It has been, because you've been kind of like globetrotting and things, whether it's doing stuff in Mexico, promoting Major League Soccer, talking to youngins about Major League Soccer and how they should behave on a daily basis. you're being a dad. I believe one of your, I believe another Garza just had a birthday, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My oldest, my firstborn turned 13. I got a teenager now, man.
Wow.
I
Well,
know.
so I wanted to get into that and all the other things that are going on. We have you until 9:30, which is perfect.
Awesome.
And hey, you're the one that set the timetables because I know that you're dancing as fast as you can.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Oh, no worries. All right. So my first question this time around, we're seeing you with the Hoff up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. You're doing some work with him and Atlanta United. What's it like dancing with the Hoff in studio doing this TV thing now?
Man, Joe is awesome. I was having breakfast with Miggy yesterday morning and Ronald Hernandez, and just speaking, we were just talking about, they see me every Thursday morning now, and it's funny because Miggy's the first one to training, and so I'm usually the first one of probably all of us in terms of like the media team now,
Yeah.
right? So I get to have breakfast with Miggy every Thursday now, just catch up. But we were just talking about how genuine of a person Joe is, man. He's such a good dude. I've never seen him in a bad mood. He's always so uplifting. He's always so happy. I've never seen him stressed. I feel like I'm the type of person you could probably tell just by looking at me if I'm ticked off or not. But yeah. But man, he's always just so uplifting. He's always so encouraging. It's funny because I feel like he's really he reminds me of like Kev a lot. Of to where I feel like he's got a very high ceiling in what he is currently doing. So hopefully Atlanta United can keep on to him for as long as they can. I'm not sure they're going to be able to with his talent and what he does, but it's fun to learn from him. And I'm always telling him, like, dude, you can give me like some crap feedback sometimes, man. You can tell me how it is, man. Don't be afraid to just always tell you, man, you're killing it, you're crushing it. I want to take the crap sometimes, man. It's okay to tell me what I need to get better at and what I need to focus on, how I need to stand, how I need to be, where I need to look, because it is a different environment, something that I've done before, but I mean, I'm a perfectionist. I want to do the best that I can in everything that I do. So, it's been awesome to learn from him and just the guys that are there. They've given me the opportunity to be there at the training ground. I get to have breakfast with old friends. I get to see everybody, dab everybody up. I got to see Tata the other day, which I hadn't seen in a very long time. So to give him a big hug, to meet his son, just to see all of them every morning now is every Thursday morning has been pretty cool to be at the facility in an old home. So it's refreshing to see. If I always say, like, for me, the biggest thing that stands out is I tried to always make an impact and use my platform to always make sure that I am saying good morning to everyone that is there. Mm-hmm. And I will go and shake their hand. I will tell every single person good morning, whether they are part of SAFE and the security at the front door to you got Steve and Sylvia and people in the lunchroom and helping out with food. So it's from I walk into now the offices where they have their new part of their building. Where they have people from all over. They have people that are just visiting from the stadium that just one day a week in the training ground. And I'll go and say hi to them, and they're probably like, who the hell is this guy? They probably just want to get in their work, get in their little cubicle and get their coffee and get going. And I'm there starting conversations. So I feel like it just takes me back from being in that environment. That's how I was in the locker room. I was that energetic guy in the morning to always pick everybody up, to bring everybody together. And Parky and I talk about it a lot, being that glue of that team. That's kind of was my role. So it feels good to be in that environment again, even from a different setting as well.
No doubt. And what I always tell folks that might be unfamiliar with being on camera, if you want to talk to one person about what you're talking about, go straight ahead. You want to talk to the Hoff, talk to the Hoff. You want to talk to the world, look at the other camera, and then that way you kind of get your story squared away and however you want to tell it on that particular day. But you mentioned being glue and being positive and being that part of a team. When it comes to your mentees and trying to impress upon them no one likes anything better than to hear the sound of their own name. Being polite and understanding. Because I'll go into a store or whatever, and I'll see a name tag, and someone will sit there and they'll ask me a question, and then I'll address them correctly, back with the name on the name tag, and they'll freak out a little bit because they're like, "Well, how'd you know my name?" And then you kind of sit there and you go down and point like this. But just the idea of being personable and being upfront and being honest and understanding where that other person might be coming from when it comes to your mentees and having those conversations. Do they have to be reminded about that stuff, or do they understand that value of being a part of a glue and being polite as a part of that?
I mean, I think that's partly in my ultimate goal to help these kids understand their values and what is needed in order to build that platform for yourself. I don't think I would have these unique opportunities that I have even after playing if I was just an absolute asshole to everyone,
There's the E rating on a Friday, brother.
Right. But I just, and it's so funny because people always say, well, I always go back to it. It's like, man, then, I mean, if you knew me on the field, it was a much different, it was a much different personality that I had, being in public. But, I think just teaching our mentees those little details. It's so interesting that you said that, because my girlfriend and her daughters always give me crap whenever we go to restaurants, and I will ask the waiter or the waitress in the very beginning, even if they don't tell us, right, what their name is. I'll ask them what their name is, and I will call them by their name the rest of the time that they are waiting on us or that they're taking care of us. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, whatever it might be, right? And they always say, they're always asking, why do you just say thank you? You have to call them by their name. And I was like, there's just something that I feel that when you are personable and you do help everyone understand that we are all on the same level, no matter what, right? I think that's an important piece of it, and that you don't forget what their name is. I think is important. I try. That's one of my biggest goals. Is if I'm in a setting with 30 kids, or if I'm doing a camp and I have 20 kids within my group, by the end of that 30-minute segment, I will try and know every kid's name and still remember them at the next year's camp or whatever it is. Yeah. That's one of my biggest goals, is to remember names, because it's so important. And there are times I had my youngest son had a birthday party at a trampoline park, and somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. I do not. But please remind me of that moment, and I can try and think back, because I think those moments are important, because they can be important for people that are on the other side of it as well."
When you're globetrotting these days, and globetrotting specifically with your eldest, because he's setting the world on fire when it comes to what he's doing on the pitch. When you are dad and you're not Beyond Goals mentoring Greg Garza, you're not Major League Soccer representative Greg Garza, do you get to the opportunity to tune in on everything going on around you and think about that as a mentor? It's like, okay, there's something that's off here, there's something that's right here. Does that mentor button still stay green light for you, even when you're there trying to be there for your son?
Oh yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, we're always traveling with other kids as well that are a part of his team. And, I think back to whenever I was that age, I was an absolute goof. Right. So, I want them to have that goofball era. Cause teenage boys, man, they're absolute goofballs, man. I just think back, I'm like, what the hell was I doing whenever I was that? I can't believe I was this goofy, man, or just like this, ignorant to things. Sometimes they just don't get what's going on around them. But I think it is important to help them understand that you are a role model. There are some kids that are somewhere, someplace that do look up to you, and it could be the level of soccer that they are playing, right? Essentially they are playing at the highest level that there is within their age group. And that is still something to where there are kids that are below them in terms of level, that want to be in their shoes and look up to them, and will most likely look at the way that they act. Right. And that's something that I think it's important for all of my mentees and even my own kids to understand, is no matter where you are, there are going to be people that watch you. There's going to be somebody that's always watching. And I think that's so important. So even when you are in the normal setting, or, and I think some athletes do such a good job of having a certain persona that they are able to show, whether it be via social media or whether it be, in certain ways. And then you actually get to know them, or you ask people who are within their close circle, and they're like, man, that guy is the absolute biggest a-hole in the world, man. But what he shows everybody else, he shows that he is such a kind being. And, I think that's the important thing, is that when you are a role model, or you are trying to teach those values to kids, is that you act in that way at all times. You try to hold those values in every setting or environment that you're in. And I think that's an important piece of it. It's not just when people are really focused on you, but in the smaller moments, when you're traveling, or when you are doing the littlest of things. So I think for me, I always live by, the good things happen to good people, man. I think that's something that is true to heart. And I think it's something that sticks. So just helping them understand those values is important.
Because you never know, A, who's going to be around you. You never know, B, who you're going to rub off on. And it could be the biggest influence of that individual on that particular day, or it could be something that you or I think of as a natural behavior, whether it's opening a door, making sure that, that a woman goes through first when you open a door and you're going into a building, pull out a chair so they can sit down first, those kinds of things. You never know who's watching, and you never know who you rub off on. And so the idea of being that person 100% of the time, that's always been key. And I know sometimes we'll get tired, and, we may not feel like it, but we know that we've always got to be that way, because you never know who's there.
I think one thing is, I think one thing that I like to, I just heard this the other day, and it was, it's sometimes it's not about who you know, because I think a lot of us think, well, it's about who you know, but I think a lot of it is how they remember you. And I think that's more important than sometimes who you know. Right. Because we all know a lot of people that can help us with different things, or whether you're looking for a job, or whether I think the most important thing is how is that person going to remember you? And that's an important piece of it. And that's a fine line to do whenever you are in professional sports. And I think that even when you go through the, I think sometimes we don't talk about it enough, is just the business side of what sports can be. Yeah. I think it can be dirty sometimes, and it can be wishy-washy, to where it's like people from the outside don't truly understand how crazy it can be. But I think, one thing for me is that even if I were going through a tough time in terms of the business side of it, or dealing with, a GM or a president or somebody, an agent that, at that moment you can't stand. Right. But is that person going to remember you to be somebody that still shook their hand every single day, or somebody that still showed them respect every single day? Because you might see that person 20 years down the road. They might be somebody that you might need to count on 20 years from now. So what are they going to remember you by? Even though that was a turmoiled moment in that time, but what are they going to remember you by? What impression did you give? And I think that's an important piece for us to show kids as well. But just pros in general, sometimes you don't think about. It's an important piece of it.
Do you have to remind adults to be adults sometimes? Not like right in front of everybody as an example, but do you kind of do you pull somebody aside, sit there and go, you might want to kind of just dial it differently a little bit? Do you get to remind adults, to be adults sometimes?
I feel like everybody, to each their own, and right. and that way, in that form. I think it's one of the big things I look in terms of whenever I think about adulting, I think more so of just the maturity. And also one thing that I see more than anything is a lot of the coaching, because I feel like I'm around it a lot. And so that's something I like to pay attention to, and something I like to really just observe, and see what tendencies they have, whether they be negative or whether they be positive, but just try and see where they're coming from in some sense of it. And then also try and teach them, if I can, if there's any points that I can give that I think that kids will respond better to. That's a big piece of it also.
How are adults as coaches these days from your interactions? Do they understand it? Do they get it? Are they, for the most part, are they responsible? And then you have like that one or two wild cards that are off over to the side that you gotta have to kind of remember and have them remember what it's like to actually be an adult? Or is everybody kind of on the straight and narrow, and do they get it these days in your interactions? Are adults?
I think you get a lot of everything. There are so many different types of coaches that, I think one of the biggest things that I would teach, and especially for youth coaching these days, would be just how to manage different personalities on each and every team. And I think that every kid and every being is going to be different, the way that we think, the way that we are, the way that we carry ourselves. And that's a big component that I feel like is overlooked whenever we are teaching our coaches, is that at the end of the day, the best coaches are the ones that are managers, that are great at managing personalities of each and every individual. They have a team structure. They've created team culture. They create good culture, but they are able to manage personalities the best way possible. And I think those are the best managers and the best coaches that I had within my career. And we can talk about that all day, but I think I see within our society today in youth soccer, I sometimes see a lack of that. And sometimes I feel like it's like a lot of people look, it's either my way or the highway. And I feel like at the end of the day, you have all of these different personalities and kids that you have to understand how to manage them to get the best out of them to help you be successful. I think sometimes we forget that, individual success will usually only come from team success. And that's an important piece that I think that we also have to notice. But I always say that great teams are made up of greater individuals. So you have to look at it from all different ways.
All right. Last question for you before you have to take on the planet, as you always do. Atlanta's heading to Chicago. Traditionally a tough place to play. I know those of us that have been around the team a while remember 5-1 up at Soldier Field.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, you will?
I travel to Chicago tomorrow morning, so taking a little short getaway with my girlfriend. But it'll be interesting. I don't know if we're going to be able to catch the game. Her first question to me is the game outside. I said yes. So we might be indoors watching the game somewhere, but I have to pay attention because of these pre and post game match shows that I have with Joe every week now. So
listen to you. So challenges going up against Chicago. It was interesting stuff that came out yesterday from Alexi and from Tata. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just managing moments within the game. I feel like that first half against Columbus was one to where you can build off of if you have that same consistency within. I wouldn't say it was a flat performance, but one that I felt like you can build off from. And then I felt like kind of the wheels kind of fell off within that second half of just not understanding how to manage time within the moments of the game. Right. It's really interesting because all the things that we show in these pre and post game matches is that when you see the three DPs are able to triangulate and be in the attacking third, they are so effective. They really are. If you really dissect it, and when those three touch the ball, they are so effective. But how can you get them within those areas more often? And I think that's an important piece of it. And then one thing that I feel is just in my personal opinion, that is lacking is that I feel like we are still missing that depth kind of player to really just take people on and find an end result within something. Can they get something out of it? And I feel like sometimes you have Miggy and you have Alexi who are so dangerous on the ball and can change the game within a split second, but they're always coming inside. Yeah. They always drift inside. They always come inside because that's their role. They are players that want to play that roaming 10 and find inside and then pick people apart. And I feel like, I feel like Jacob and Baez have done a great job of getting involved in the attack, but they're guys that get involved in the attack and get a cross off from deep. But we don't have somebody that you just, I love this guy, but Buanga is just somebody who every time he gets the ball, he just runs at somebody. And he just makes something happen out of nothing sometimes. And I don't know if it's maybe Miggy staying more out wide and producing that from a wider area instead of drifting inside. So, I think I would like to see that more within this game of just somebody using the amplified field of what you have as Soldier Field. It's a massive field. So can you use that depth? And I mean, the player that comes to mind for me is Luke Brennan, that I think, has that ability to take somebody on 1v1 and get an end result of getting a cutback cross or getting to the byline and making something happen. So, maybe Fafa Picault, if he gets the opportunity to come in as well, I think he has that dynamic to do so as well. So I'm hoping they can just, I said yesterday, all we need to do is just focus on getting a result. That being whatever. Is it a point? Is it 3 points? You need a result. That's all you need. And then you focus on the next one, especially coming back after last weekend.
No doubt. As always, my friend, great to see you. Great to see you on Thursdays with the Hoff, with Atlanta United Things, and that's the official term. Do not be a stranger, and we'll catch up with you soon. Be safe going up to Chicago and get good intel for us, okay?
Let's do it, brother. See you later, man. Thanks for having me.
There goes Greg Garza. And so that means that we do the hot tag. And Ted Stryker is joining us this morning. This is, do you have a drinking problem, sir?
How many people of this generation will understand that reference of who Ted Stryker is? Can I get away with it?
Irrelevant immaterial to the argument, sir. That does not matter.
How's my background? If I could show you everything. We've got a beautiful layout here today that, unfortunately, John, is not the tarmac. I can offer you the best that B Terminal has to offer at Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson. So you're just going from one Atlanta storyline to the other.
Yes. Oh, it's stacked. Look at that.
Got the Masters over there, so that's good.
Delta Club. Looks like Delta.
Yep. I had a rough morning. Started at 3:19 when I realized that I didn't set my alarm for 3:25. I set it for 5:25, but I got up on my own. There was an issue with the Uber. He ended the ride abruptly on accident, and getting in touch with Uber customer service is certainly something that is no small feat. I left my hat in the Uber, so that was fun. There were no bananas at Sky Club in Fort Lauderdale. I mean, these are first world problems, but still problems for all of us. And then, as you know, I missed my connection. So here we are, just yapping away amongst the worker bees. Okay. How may I be of service to you, good sir, my liege?
Yeah. Kanji's joining us at 10, so we're going to basically, it's going to be like you tagging out and he'll tag in. You, sir, did something involving USL Championship, and I reached out basically and was like, yeah, that sounds like something cool, and it has to do with the other leagues that you cover. And so I got something in the mail. I have no earthly idea what it is, but it is from Lexington Sporting Club right here. And so I'm going to open this on the air and find out what it was that you have apparently, possibly, probably could hold them into sending us. And we're going to open this together. Like I said, I have no idea what this is. I'm somewhat frightened. It's like two things. I'm going to get two things here. Okay. All right. So here's the first one. And I'm not surprised if the boss will probably steal both of these things before I have a chance to wear them.
That happens at my house, too.
Okay. So, all right. So this is always good because I do not have one of these. This is the Lexington SC scarf. And this
Get in there.
This will go behind as a part of everything that is here in the office. The boss actually had to reinforce the shower rod behind me because I put too many winter scarves on it. So she had to actually reinforce it. And she basically cursed me for that. So it's almost like it's very Danhausen kind of a move. So,
I've got comments that are shooting from the hip, but I'm pretty sure I'd lose my job. So let's stay out of HR's way this morning.
no worries. So we won't hit any home runs. But here's the other thing that was sent. And this looks like a baseball jersey that says, oh, okay, so look at this. It is a Lexington baseball jersey. And this is probably the best camera shot that this show has ever had. And so, very nice. How did you find out about these? This is very nice.
So I'm very fortunate, privileged, whatever word you want to use, to cover many entities within this sport. You mentioned my involvement with USL. I've been their lead analyst since 2018. With that comes relationships that are certainly deep-rooted in American soccer, as they are with a lot of leagues. But specifically with this one, sporting director's name is Sam Dorr. Sam Dorr started the San Antonio franchise.
Oh.
Was one of the original workers, I should say, that started the San Antonio franchise in 2016. When Didier Drogba came into the ownership group of Phoenix Rising and they rebranded in 2017, he was one of the guys that was a part of the rebrand. Diplo got involved in that group. Pete Wentz, he kind of helped organize all of that with the ownership group. Got into the GM type role. Long story short, he's now the sporting director of Lexington. He's got a crazy resume. They had some awesome work in the offseason, and from merchandising and marketing standpoint, I think they're one of the best in the league. I saw it as a cross promotion. I reached out immediately and said, hey, would love to grab one or two of these for our loyal listeners. Absolutely. Sent out that tweet and said, hey, anybody who's interested, let me know. I had a couple of people hit me up on Twitter, had a bunch of people bother me behind the scenes. And I figured that if I was ever going to make it onto your show again, I needed to start greasing the wheels a little bit more. And some would call it bribery. I would just say they are aggressively gifting. I'm giving what I have to offer. Anyway, I thought it was really cool. I hope you enjoy it, buddy.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, since you said you left your hat in the car,
yeah,
you think you could deal with one of these?
Oh, I could do that. Yeah, for sure. Look, I got the fresh fade and everything, but no hat on. I'm struggling through the airport right now.
Yeah. So
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. So we need to get a new order in, but I have some of these here in the office. I figure since you mentioned it, I'll send one of these down to you in Fort Lauderdale.
Love that. Appreciate you, buddy.
Where are you heading this week, sir?
I am heading to Kansas City to the fan club of Rafa Vicky and Bruce Arena.
Okay.
The two superpowers collide. There's certainly some joking matters behind those statements, if you will. Yeah, San Jose has been off to a hot start, no doubt about that. We can talk about it. And Sporting Kansas City has not thawed out from the winter. We'll say it that way. Yeah, it's been a rough one. I mean, I'm the first one, John, to hold people responsible for what's gone on. I will say that for Rafa, there's a lot going on in Sporting that is just out of his control. Like guys that are unavailable for visas, guys that they've signed that were, Capita Capeva he hadn't trained in something like 9 months, so you can't just run him into the ground. You've got players that are injured. You've got children, young kids that have no experience playing in these games. So it's a rebrand with David Lee at the helm, and a lot of times you can look at coaches and question tactics. You can't do that for Rafa. He's chasing his tail right now, trying to find a way to just get to the summer and probably get to next season.
Because David Lee had mentioned coming into the year that they were looking to bring in 12 or 14 new guys, and there's chaos that's attached to that. Sporting Kansas City, too, at MLS Next Pro, they're having their scoring problems, and they're the table in the East. So, I mean, this is like literally a rebuild of rebuild. This literally is like, no, I don't even like the house, and you just raise the house and you want to build a new one on the same property.
Yeah, let's just run through kind of the normal selections for a team for them, regardless of shape, which they crazily changed last game, but that was just based upon available personnel. It wasn't a tactics thing. Or low. choice. Jansen Miller, young, aggressive, experienced, probably still a second or third choice center back at this point in time. I like the young kid, Ian James. He's got a ton of speed. He's making good decisions. He is going to be 19 this year. Is that right? 18 this year. Yeah, carry the one on the fly. You know better than to have me do that. I like him. He's probably their best. Yeah, he's probably their best option as a developmental piece at center back. But again, he's a developmental piece. So as you start to work through all of this, Jake Davis, Justin Reynolds, a lot of them are very young, very inexperienced, and they're not going to be first choice selections that are going to regularly make waves within this league. I think that's okay, but when you're relying on them to be everything, it's hard to produce anything. And so you've had tactical shifts, you've had injuries. Justin Reynolds, although he started the year well, was out 45 minutes in. They're just getting him back. Attacking wise, the scoring issues you referenced, Dejan Joveljic has to do it all by himself. And I gotta tell you, man, I watch him sometimes, John, and I just think to myself how frustrating it must be as an attacker to watch these balls just being pissed away left and right. Not just my words, Rafa Wicki and I talked about it yesterday, how they're just gifting opportunities to teams of, hey, as bad as we are, come make it worse for us. And that's got to be the Achilles heel for them. But yeah, they've done some work in the transfer market so far. I would imagine that you're probably going to see 2, if not 3 big names make its way into the program, end of July, obviously August. That's kind of where I see them heading, certainly on the attacking side. But it's going to be a struggle. This is going to be a long run. That's why I said in next year, like even 2 or 3 guys, I don't see them turning the needle that much. I think you probably need 6 or 7 total players to get this thing headed in the right direction.
You mentioned young dudes. You go to the flip side in San Jose. Bruce Arena last year put some faith in some young guys, especially at the back. Now he's with Weston Judd. That is right now, a lot of folks have a lot of eyes on him. So the young dudes that Bruce Arena had last year are not as young, but they're still crushing it this year.
It's funny how that works, right? I would say a couple of different things comparing San Jose to Sporting Kansas City. All due respect to Rafa Wicki. Bruce Arena. Mm-hmm. Let's understand there it's Bruce Arena, and that if you've ever had the opportunity to meet him, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, Bruce is a charismatic guy who carries a ton of confidence. My favorite thing about Bruce is the relatability factor for players. He gets guys to buy into what he wants them to do and gets the best out of every single individual. You put him in a tactics room, laser pointer and boards. He's not going to be revolutionary breaking down the game, John, but he is going to get every single player to understand what their role is and to maximize their output. So to your point about the youth, go to the last team sheet against Vancouver Whitecaps. 8 of 11, 12 of 16, 16 of 20, all college players. That's unreal. And it reminds me of the conversation in 2024 that was pretty heavy heading into the draft. People are like, the college game, and we hear it every year, the college game, and it's changing and it has nothing. And I'm like, we're 2.5 seasons removed from the Revs setting the single season points record at that point in time in MLS with a goalkeeper and entire back line from college. So remove that idea. Outside of Bruce's leadership, then you get into the specific roles, which are about the team. Like this team is very, for the most part, on the attacking side, it's very linear in its thoughts. You go from A to B to C. You're not seeing a ton of rotation from the outside backs. You're not seeing the midfield collapsing on one side or the other with full freedom. I'll get to the defensive side in a second. And when you reference Preston Judd, I don't think the idea of Preston Judd should be revolutionary to anybody at 26 years of age. The guy has continuously scored goals over and over again, wherever he's been. I think that the thing you have to understand for Preston Judd is because they've simplified the structure down underneath, that has made his job a lot easier. If it was Christian Espinosa on the outside, a wondrous talent, and certainly would be a great addition to this group. But if it was Espinosa, if it was Chicho Arango, if it was a Bobasi, the names can go on and on over the years. So many different tactics. And when they were running in a 3-man system up top on that front line, if it was going to be 2 10s, Judd had trouble with the movements. If it was going to be 2 strikers and a 3-man midfield, he had trouble finding patterns. So you've simplified everybody else's role underneath. You've made it easier for Preston Judd, where his job now, score goals. Just get in the box, right? Just get in the box, get on the end of service, And he's done that quite consistently at the start of the season. I think the big asterisk here when it comes to freedom within Bruce Arena's system is you want to watch them on the defensive side of the ball. I am quite taken back, not by the pressure, but by how they deploy it. Mid to high, when they're pressuring their opponent, we see a lot of man-on-man, John. And so what is their biggest strength could also be their biggest downfall. But they are so good at providing coverage. So, if Chakeris pops out of the midfield onto the front line next to Preston Judd, and now it's a two-man system chasing the center backs or pushing it to the outside, that simple little ball through would beat them. But now you're asking Bo LaRue to come up through. Now you're asking Ronaldo Vieira. There's quality depth. Ian Hartz that can do the job as well. These guys understand, like, if the first man-on-man is missed, the second one pops back up in. So it's a constant line of pressure that creates high turnovers that lead to opportunities.
So when's your flight?
Flight is officially at 10:30. We board in 4 minutes, which is when I get to go to the gate and get an actual seat. I've been told there is a seat on the plane, but I don't have a seat confirmed yet. You can put me in the loo. I don't care, as long as I get there.
Basically, yeah. So thank you, my friend. That was fantastic from Lexington. And our friend Steve Cook is a part of that office.
Absolutely.
Steve is one of the great mensches that we have here. So, yes, the boss will be wearing these, and she'll wear this, and the scarf will go up behind. Dude, you realize you can come on any time on a Friday. If you come in and crash, I don't care.
Yeah, I need to be better about that. And I got to tell you, I think my Ted Stryker reference is good, but one of my running mates who I did my first show from his house, Tyler Terrence, when he called you from the Sbarro at TQL, I got to one-up that. That's good. That's good, but that's walking up to open bar and ordering like 2 shots, one for you and the next guy. I need to figure out how to get the bartender to line up an entire round across the top so that we're all just doing something together. So that reference means I got to be bigger and bolder than my friend Tyler Terrence and figure out how to crack the code on an appearance next time I come on.
Hey, that's what we're here for, my friend. Fridays are wide open, so if you're bored in an airport or if you're sick of people outside in the smoker's room, and everything wafting your way, just step outside, come on and visit. That's what we're here for.
Appreciate you, buddy. I know this was a rush appearance and we had to change the schedule. I appreciate the flexibility within all that. Enjoy that jersey and always love the show. We'll see you soon, man.
Be good, be safe, get in the loo, and get to Kansas City to be with Katie. All right.
Thanks, brother.
It was Ted Stryker, and he picked the he got a drinking problem, so we'll see what happens. Devon Kerr, hopefully hopping on a plane. He's at Hartsfield. He's getting ready for Nate McCady, Devon Kerr for San Jose and Sporting Kansas City. And we will get into juice boxes with Niko Moreno coming up at 10:30. Steve Cangialosi set to join us in about 12 minutes. And we'll get through everything that's on the Kangi man's mind because he and Danny Higginbotham have Saturday showcase. It is Charlotte and Nashville. And we'll break that one down and any other thoughts that the Kangi man has so far here in 2026. So we've had Greg Garza. We've had Devon Kerr in the first 40-something minutes of the show. Dell, good morning. No, people read the chat, but sometimes they have to, if they have Twitch dialed up, if they're just dialing in, then they won't see the Twitch conversation. And I think also if they dial in, then they need to activate the window that opens up the chat in Restream. But if they have Twitch dialed up as like return, then they get to see what's going on in the chat. Like Michael Parkhurst, he has Twitch dialed up. So he'll look at the chat and he'll see, like Dell, when you are talking smack on Rhode Island FC, he has the chat dialed up and it's expanded in that window. So you have to open those windows either in Restream or on Twitch and have Twitch up and running to see what's going on with so it's all good. All right. So morning, Dell, morning to Ropes. And morning to all of you who, however you are accessing us this morning. Obviously, in hour number 2, we're going to get heavy Major League Soccer. We do have some stuff going on overseas that we need to get into this morning, and we'll let you know what's going on in and around anything and everything going on before we let you go for your weekend. Remember, tonight, this afternoon and tonight, it is high school soccer on the network, Whitfield Academy, AIS 5 and 7. And just keep an eye out for your notifications. and we'll have the doubleheader there. I'll have the doubleheader for you. Maddie is going to have the broadcast of Atlanta United 2 and Inter Miami CF 2, pregame 6:30, and kick a little after 7 on I think she's going to be on SDH 1. I'll be on SDH 2, but the best way to go about it, just go to soccerdownhere.net / hit the listen tab, and you'll see the players. You'll see SDH 1, you'll see SDH 2, and you'll see the archive. When there's something live going on, you'll see like a red flashing light, and it says live. I know that sometimes for people like me, that's kind of difficult to register, but one of us will be live. I'll be live first, but you'll see that live, and you'll activate that, and you sit there and you come in and you listen to what's going on each channel. So literally you could have 2 things going on at once with us today, starting at about 7 o'clock. So Maddie would be doing MLS Next Pro at 7. I would be doing the boys high school game with Whitfield and AIS. So literally 3 events this afternoon and tonight, 2 on the high school side at Whitfield Academy and AIS. Maddie's going to have Atlanta United 2 and Inter Miami CF 2. That's going to be at 7:03, kick pregame at 6:30. Tomorrow, Maddie and I are going to be doing the academy games up at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground, and times on that to be TBA, but it'll be good to be diving into that with everybody up there in Marietta to break down academy matches tomorrow. So we'll have those 2. Then it's Five Stripes Countdown with Maddie and Abe at 7:30, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. Then it's Mike and Jason calling the match, 8:40 kick from Chicago with Chicago Fire Atlanta United. Then a full-time report after that. So it's a busy day of soccer, busy weekend of soccer. And then on Sunday, we watch the final round of the tournament from Augusta. So that's where that is. And we will enjoy that. But then we get you ready for Open Cup. And that's going to be a trip to Chattanooga for all of us. And we will be there for the matchup Wednesday night. Mike and Jason will have the call. I think it's going to be on 92.9. We'll all be up there. I'll do the show from a hotel room on Thursday, but we'll all be up there with everything that goes on with Open Cup for Tuesday and Wednesday next week and get you ready for all of that. Okay, before the Kanji Man joins us coming up soon, it is, let's see, no, and Devon's being a mensch about things. It was perfect, Ted. So, so Devon's being a mensch, but it was good. All right, so let's go and let you know who's in the middle and who is assigned to what. We also got the 11 pro officials selected for the World Cup, and it was Ismail Elfath, Drew Fisher, and Tori Penso, our referees. Assistants, your ARs, Leah's Arfa, Kyle Atkins, Michael Barwegen, Brooke Mayo, Catherine Nesbitt, Corey Parker, and Joe Dickerson and Armando Villarreal were named video match officials. 16-year-old Flex 9 QJY. Oh, you were at the end of your day. I hate to break it to you there. But you and Streamboo are not going to agree. 52 referees, 88 assistants, 30 video match officials from the largest pool of match officials for a World Cup. And so at the start of the year, according to our friend Chris Rivet of Pro, Dickerson, Elfath, Fisher, and Tori Penso, attended a seminar in Brazil with top officials from CONCACAF and CONMEBOL. CONMEBOL came out yesterday and signed off on another full-year term endorsing Gianni Infantino as the head of FIFA, by the way. Atkins, Elfath, Fisher, Nesbitt, Parker, and Villarreal again selected officiating 22 in Qatar. Atkins, Elfath, Nesbitt, Parker all worked the World Cup final between Argentina and France. And so that was the note from Chris Rivet involving those officials. So now getting into assignments for the weekend. It is, for match day 7, Toronto and FC Cincinnati at BMO. Ricardo Fierro, the man in the middle. Eric Weisbrod, Jeffrey Greason, your ARs. Mariel Al-Ayas is your 4th. Carol Ann Chenard and Thomas Suppler upstairs. Austin and LAG. Tori Penso in the middle. Brooke Mayo, Catherine Nesbitt, your ARs. Robert Vince is your 4th. Ismir Pekmich and Claudia Badea are upstairs. Montreal and Philadelphia. Alexis De Silva's in the middle. Elias Arfa. Oscar Mitchell Carvalho are your ARs. Pierre-Luc Lozier is your 4th. Michael Radchuk, TJ Zablocki are upstairs. Portland and LAFC. Armando Villarreal is the man in the middle. Jeremy Hansen, Chris Elliott are your ARs. Lorenzo Hernandez is your fourth. Chris Penso and Mike Kampminer are upstairs. Charlotte and Nashville, who will talk to Steve Cangialosi about coming up here in 5 minutes. Rubiel Vasquez, man in the middle. Jose da Silva, Megan Mullen, your ARs. Sergei Demyanchuk is your fourth. That should be an interesting conversation. So Demyanchuk is your fourth between Dean Smith and BJ Callahan. So we'll once again, that'll be an interesting conversation. And you know that Sergei Demyanchuk ain't taking nothing from nobody in any of those situations. Solicitation bot, if I could spell solicitation. Take the Y out, John. There you go. All right. So Eunice Marakchi and Jonathan Johnson are upstairs. Inter Miami and Red Bull at New. Rosendo Mendoza, man in the middle. Corey Richardson, Walt Heatherly, your ARs. Elton Garcia, your fourth. David Barry, Claudia Badea are upstairs. Revs and DC United. John Freeman, no relation. Man in the middle. And it is Kyle Atkins, Jeff Schwartzel, your ARs. Mohammed Hassan is your fourth. Jorge Gonzalez and Craig Lowry are upstairs. Vancouver and NYC. Jair Marufo, man in the middle. Corey Rockwell, Adam Garner, your ARs. Malik Badawi is your fourth. Kevin Stott and TJ Zablocki are upstairs. Chicago and Atlanta. Drew Fisher is the man in the middle. Ryan Graves, Gerard Kader-Labouille is your ARs. Matt Thompson, Daniel Chesky is your VAR, along with Mike Kampminer. They are upstairs. Dallas, FC Dallas and St. Louis City, SC. Philip Duyich, man in the middle. Corey Parker, Eduardo Jeff, your ARs. Joe Surgan is your fourth. Carol Ann Chenard, Tom Supple are upstairs. Sporting in San Jose are waiting for Devon Kerr to come out of Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. Alan Chapman is the man in the middle. Logan Brown, Brian Dunn, your ARs. Matthew Corrigan is your fourth. Michael Radchuk, Fabio Tovar are upstairs. Colorado, Houston, Sergi Boyko, man in the middle. Michael Barweg and Callie Smith, your ARs. Joe Dickerson is your fourth. Lucas Zapala, Joshua Patlack upstairs. San Diego, Minnesota United, Victor Rivas in the middle. Jeremy Kiso and Nick Balser, your ARs. Timothy Ford is your fourth. Chris Penso, Craig Lowry are upstairs. Columbus and the purple team. Ricardo Montero Araya is the man in the middle. Andrew Bigelow, Tyler Y. Rostick, your ARs. Marcus de Oliveira is your fourth. Izmir Pekmich and Tom Felice are upstairs. We always like to do that and catch our collective breath. Now, he's in early. He's on the Tom Coughlin. He's on the Tom Coughlin plan. 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, the door is shut and you can't come in. It's always good to have Steve Cangialosi come and join us and find out what's on his mind as we head into yet another weekend. It's been far too long, my friend. Good to see you.
Good to see you. You are my last order of business before I head to the airport and heading for Charlotte. And by the way,
yes, sir.
I don't think Wilfred Zaha wants me to see him play. The last time I was in Charlotte was game one of the playoffs against New York City. He was suspended then, and you got to give the guy credit. 5 yellow cards in 6 games to start the season. That's not easy.
No, it is not. And so he will be in street clothes, and he'll be watching Charlotte and Nashville, as you and Danny get to mention everything about that one at the bank. So then, okay, he asked, how does Charlotte make up for that? Is it Toklamati? Is it young folks like Rodolfo Aloco? What are you looking at in this one?
The one thing I'm fairly confident of is that they're not going to move Pep BL anywhere on the field other than where he's been, because he has been exceptional at the 10 to start this season. And that, to me, is maybe the most important thing for Charlotte out of the gate as they wrap up this 5-game homestand on Saturday night. Because one avenue of possibly rectifying this was to move BL out wide, which he's done before. I can't see that happening. So the obvious replacement for Wilfred Zaha in the starting 11 is Liel Abada. Or should I say it should be the obvious replacement? I'm not sure that that's the manner in which they will go. They have some other options here. They can try De La Torre out there. They could use Tiger Smalls. And you know what this says, John? There's quite a body of work already for Liel Abada, right? He's played better than 60 games in MLS. He's a designated player. And still, we're not at that point where you put his name in ink in the starting 11. And that's something that I think the fans now are recognizing. And the question is, how long does Dean Smith and management of Charlotte FC go on with this? But I expect him to play, but I wouldn't bet the house on it on Saturday.
So then how much of a leash do you give it? From all the time that you've been spending looking at Eastern Conference, how long of a leash are you giving this situation before you have to sit there and go, yeah, we might as well try and cut bait here?
Well, I think that the natural stop point for everybody in MLS, including Charlotte this season, is that World Cup break. Once you get past Memorial Day weekend, then it's almost a reset, right, for every front office in MLS, where you're going to have time before you kick a ball again 6.5 weeks later to assess what you are and what you want to be and what you can be. And I think that's probably the natural point where a lot of things will be addressed. Zaha's future has to be addressed at some point between now and then. Let's look at what Charlotte is, John, right? A top 4 team in the Eastern Conference last year. And they started the playoffs at home for the first time in their existence. But in a way, wouldn't you agree that that was disappointing for them as well, considering what they were for a good stretch of the middle of the season? They had a 15-game undefeated streak in all competitions at one point last year. And to only finish as high as 4th, I think it left a lot on the table. And I think the real challenge is going from good to super good in this league. And I think they're one of those teams that's in that category right now. So, yeah, I would say early summer is when we're going to have to take a long, hard look at what we're doing with that spot.
And how long can Christian Kalina continue to stand on his head and bail you out of Lord knows how many games he has done? I mean, it literally, it has turned into one of those things. Sun rises in the east, you pay your taxes by 5 days from now, and Christian Kalina stands on his head. I would imagine there's going to be a point where he'd be sitting there going like, man, I'm tired of this. I'm too tired. I'm an old man. Give me some help here, Well,
I do think that, by the way, one of the great signings in MLS over the last 5 years, isn't it? He came here December of 2021. I think I have it on my chart, from Ludogorets, the champions in the Bulgarian league at the time. And yeah, the league leader in saves, and I guess that's a badge of honor when we address it that way, and those words will probably come out of my mouth in the first 10 seconds of the broadcast on Saturday, but they would prefer it not be that way, right? And I think the challenge for this team is Kalina continuing to do what he does as they adjust now to some different center backs on this team, because Maurice Agyemang comes into the equation to play with Tim Ream, who, of course, is not getting any younger, can't run like he used to run when he was 21 years old, but still, somehow, some way, still finds himself the real fabric of that back line, and also a probable starter for the United States at the World Cup this summer, right? So Kalina navigates all of that. They're playing with fire if it continues this way, but I think those are the things that are utmost on Dean Smith's mind. He had the stingiest defense in the Eastern Conference just 2 years ago. I think he'd like to get back to that.
And then you have that back line that you're talking about with Charlotte going up against, A, B, C, D when it comes to some of the top offensive dudes out there. It's like, okay, Surridge, Mukhtar, and then, oh, yeah, by the way, we're just going to take Christian Espinosa. Oh, you forgot to sign the paperwork. Okay, hey, about coming over here. That you're talking about playing with fire, man. That's some heavy-duty stuff that you got to be putting up with this weekend,
Yeah, I'm excited to see this with my own 2 eyes for the first time. I've watched them on Apple TV, obviously, up until this point. Now, the X factor here, John, is what is BJ going to do with the starting lineup? Because remember, he has the quick turnaround to Tuesday night. They have a very difficult assignment going to Club America, and it's a competition I know they're taking very seriously. And the turnaround here it's always harder to go Saturday to Tuesday than Tuesday to Saturday, right? There's the one less day, and now there's the travel as well to Mexico City. So this is quite a challenge that they have in front of them. There's going to be some squad rotation. How much of it is enacted with the top three of that attack? I couldn't get Callahan to bite on that when I spoke with him yesterday. Perhaps he's still up in the air about how many minutes he wants to allot each one of them. There is one scenario where maybe he sits all three for the first half and says, I want to just stay in this game for 60 minutes and then bring on my big guns and go for the result that way. So it'll be an interesting call for him. But to your point, it's quite an approach by the front office, isn't it? And I understand the mindset of Mike Jacobs, and he's not the only general manager or sporting director in the league that takes this approach, because we're fascinated by goals in this country, right? We love high-scoring games, which quite often are the residue of defensive mistakes. But he's gone all in with 3 DP spots with his players up top. It's not that unique of an approach, but I wonder over the course of 34 games how much they might get exposed elsewhere on the field as time goes on. But to your point, this could easily be the highest scoring team in MLS this year.
And it reminds me of like the 1980s Edmonton Oilers. It's like, okay, so it's Curry and Anderson and Messier and Gretzky and Esatikinen. It's like literally I'm staring at this and I'm going, yeah, this is some high-powered stuff. And the lineup, to your point, that they had against Club America in the midweek, you had a back line of Baker Whiting, Maleji, Palacios, and Nahar. In front of them, it was Matthew Corcoran, who might be 12 years old. He might be having a birthday at some point here soon.
They tell me he's 20.
Having covered him, all these years from MLS Next Pro, it's like, man, I've covered you for so long. You've got Corcoran and Yazbek, and then you have Madrigal with the Three Musketeers up top. The three, it's all of a sudden. I just had a Chevy Chase, Martin Short, Steve Martin visual pop into my head, where the three of them are on horses. But I mean, you look at that back line, and they've been piecing it together, very, very defensive, doing what BJ Callahan wants them to do. It's an interesting contrast. It's like you've got your big guns up top, but then you've got the guys at the back that are holding it together, and they're the ones that aren't getting a whole lot of press just because they might not even be household names in their own household at points.
I think that the interesting thing is that the window for this group might not be an elongated one. And that's why I think the occasions like Tuesday night for them are very big. Surridge still has a lot in front of him, right? He's 27. He's just entering the prime of his career, you might say. But Espinosa's been around the block. He's 31. Mukhtar, to me, is the most fascinating element of this troika that we've referenced here, because I never really was quite sure whether or not he would get back to the level that we saw in 2022 when he was named the MVP of this league, and quite deservingly so. But it's almost as if, as Surridge really found his finishing game, Mukhtar had this second chapter of greatness now that we're still experiencing at this point. I don't know how many more kicks at the can this group will get together. Now, Nashville is well run. They have a great fan base. They're very well coached by BJ Callahan. But this nucleus, as we see it, we might only see 1 or 2 more years for this particular group to seriously chase trophies. And that's why I think they're all in, and they're going to be dangerous for anybody who gets in that path. I think there's a real chance they could add 1 or 2 more pieces of hardware after that U.S. Open Cup last year.
And when Hani Mukhtar was just Hani Mukhtar and then 9 other guys and Joe Willis, it was okay because that positional gravity, you could double him, you could bracket him, and it was easier to defend against Nashville than it is now because of all of these different options that you're getting. And that might be a byproduct of Gary Smith versus BJ Callahan when it comes to approach. But now that you have all these other things, Mukhtar can breathe again. And he can kind of work his way around, and he can kind of get hidden, and he can work his way through and all this kind of stuff. It's amazing when you get friends to help you out, how you can have a renaissance like you're talking about.
I remember talking to Dax McCarty when he was in Nashville, and this was during that terrific Leagues Cup run that they had to the final, the very first edition of the tournament back in 2023. They lost that epic game against Messi and Inter Miami at the end in a shootout. And this was during the run. I did one of those games, and the results were coming They were playing well. Geodis Park was filled with 30,000 for a lot of these games. And I remember him telling me before one game, he said, this is not sustainable. He said, we're asking too much of the same guy. And we keep having this conversation of secondary scoring. Where will it come from? And we've been unable to crack that code. Well, I think that feeling lingered even when Surridge first joined this team and had only a couple of games toward the tail end. And I think we went into that first offseason with Surridge as part of the group where people were wondering, is this an overrated signing? Is this going to work out? Then he has 12. And then last year, the breakout with 24. And this season, the possibilities seem endless. And when he scores them in bunches. And I expect we're going to see a few more waves of that this year.
Another couple of minutes there with Steve Cangialosi before he hops on a plane. And because we've already had Devon Kerr stuck in the Delta Crown Club at B Concourse at Hartsfield. He's already
airport delays in the United States of America in 2026.
I don't know. Just, one of those things. Looking at all things being equal, we'll take it a team at a time. If the Three Musketeers start for Nashville and, BJ wants to go all full bore from, moment zero until he's got a comfortable lead and he thinks he can get the result in the door. Who do you think are those second level guys, the foot soldiers, the ones that don't get all the press, the ones that won't be in the spot shadow off the top, that will make things successful for Nashville? We could have already talked about them. They could have been on the table. Who are those second-level guys for you for Nashville to be successful on the weekend?
Well, I'm going to give you one on each team, if that's an acceptable answer, okay? Because There's a guy we don't talk enough about, and he's replaced Walker Zimmerman, who was two-time Defender of the Year in this league, and that's Maxwell Waleji, who's in his first year as an MLS defender. Couple of things about this man who's 24 and he's just joined the league from Ghana. He's got tremendous pace, and a lot of times we equate that with the ability to get forward in order to make recovery runs back. But when you think about the way that Nashville plays, right, with Nahar on one side and Lovitz generally on the other, sometimes it's Reed Baker-Whiting, as you alluded to. A lot of that quickness has to do with lateral movement, going right and going left. And he's got that. And he becomes an integral part of everything that they do. And I also think you'll see him dribble the ball forward more than most center backs in the league. So that would be my answer for Nashville. From the flip side, I would go back to Ashley Westwood, who I think is affected by Zaha's absence more than any other player. Because remember, Zaha's fouled more than any other guy in the league. Last year was 122 times. So what do you lose? You lose those plays where Zaha is fouled. Those fouls lead to free kicks. Those free kicks lead to genuine scoring opportunities by a fantastic set-piece taker in Ashley Westwood. So my mind is set on Westwood and how he seeks to control the game from the Charlotte perspective here without Zaha. He is, according to his coach, still one of the finest physical specimens that you're going to see on this team at the age of 36. He wears the captain's armband, and that's not just for show. He's the guy who generally, I'm told, in training, ready to play every game. So I want to see how Westwood can impose his will on this game without Zaha in the lineup. I think he's got it in him. I think we've got a fair fight. And I do think from Charlotte's perspective, you need this. You're playing well at home. This is a 5-game homestand that wraps up, and the schedule evens out by the time you get to 34. Bank those points now. You're going to need them in the end.
Mm-hmm. So if you would please, sir, ellipses, go ahead and hit the promo for me so you can go ahead and get out the door and go to the airport.
Apple TV. Hey, this is the Walmart Saturday Showdown. Did you know that?
Yes, I did. And I believe we have a shipment coming from that particular store to the front door with some stuff for the weekend. So,
Yes, 7:30 p.m. on Apple TV, Saturday night. Danny Higginbotham is my partner in the booth. Jillian Sakovitz will be sideline for us. She always has some interesting nuggets during the course of the game. We look forward to working with her for the first time this year. And this should be a good one on a Saturday night in April. I'm looking forward to it.
What do you think about Danny and the shininess up top? He has eschewed the follicles now.
Follically challenged, is he? You're
I
saying?
thought he was just getting rid of it. It's last time I saw him, it's just clean.
You know what? Let's go with that. He's getting rid of it. Yeah, sounds good.
Oh, have a great broadcast, my friend. It's great to see you. Don't be a stranger, and we'll see you soon.
All right, John. Take care. Thanks for having me, buddy.
You bet. Steve Cangialosi. He's heading to the airport. Hopefully, he'll have better luck than Devon. Yeah, Devon missed his connection, and so he's stuck in B concourse and hopefully getting on a plane. So it's great to catch up with Steve, find out what's going on. And I just thought that Danny just went clean shaven. I didn't think he was just losing it all. So anyway, and I'm sure that'll get back to Danny, and Danny will come in here and crash and go, dude, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, it just looked like you just shaved it off. That's what it looked like. Summer cut, Okay, so there you go. So we've had Greg Garza, we've had Devon Kerr from an airport, and we've had Steve Cangialosi, so he can get to the airport himself. He's going to be calling Walmart Saturday Showcase, and that's going to be on Apple TV, while a lot of us are going to be focused on Atlanta and Chicago shortly thereafter. So very, very cool stuff there. All right, let's get into some of the news and notes and things and what to watch and gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Niko Moreno set to join us coming up bottom of the hour, and then we will mop up with everything going on. Del, we have not discussed what is going on about the seat category discussion yet, and we have not talked about what's going on in Boston with the fare increases, although that's not necessarily a surprise, because when you have a particular city, doesn't matter who it is, and they're trying to recoup an investment that has been made in infrastructure, you figure there's going to be that sticker shock early on, but the fact that it's 80 instead of 20, that's a heck of a sticker shock. The seat discussions that have been going on, where you've had seats reclassified and so on and so forth. Henry Bushnell has done a lot of great work and at the Athletic and laying out all of those things. And, yeah, it's not cool. If it is to the extremes and to the extent that is being reported, where you're sitting there and you're thinking, yeah, I'm going to be getting Section 1, and you end up getting Section 2 or 2 and 3 and so on, I'm hoping that the sight lines that they give you or the seat that they give you is as close as humanly possible. But yeah, I was reading up about all those things, and everybody's like, well, no, this isn't our seats. And I want to see how FIFA addresses it. I really do. I want to see how they address what's going on with all the seat stuff going forward. All right. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo, what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. And we'll get into all of the things, once again, juice boxes and everything with Niko coming up in about 12 minutes or so. And then we will find all the other news that we need to pay attention to, all the other things going forward here this morning, and we will put a bow on a week. So what to watch? Let's go there. Brought to us by our friends at Fanati's, fntz.co/soccer down here. That link is important, helps them out, helps us out, and it gets you everything that you need to add more matches to everything you're already watching. With Fanati's, you get all the be-ins, which means you get everything. With Libertadores, Sudamericana, you get, Polish League, French League, Turkish League. You get ties to Tigo Sports. You get tie-ins to CATV. You get everything from AFCON and the AFC Champions League. You get the CAF Champions League as well. You get all the be-ins. You get CDO, Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru, A divisions and B divisions in a lot of places in South America. So very, very cool stuff there as well. So once again, fntz.co/soccer down here. Now, here's what we got. On BN, obviously, and BN in Espanol, doubleheader, Ligue 1, 1 and 3. West Ham and Wolves in the Premier League Friday Night Football, that's at 3 o'clock. BN in Espanol, simulcasting, ESPN Deportes, 3 o'clock, Real Madrid and Girona. Fox Deportes, 2:45, Serie A. 11 o'clock tonight, Liga MX, and that is Juarez and Xolos at 11 o'clock. 2 to NA has Puebla and León. That is at 9 o'clock. Universo is simulcasting the Juarez-Tijuana match. Golazo has USL Championship, Loudoun and Lou City. That one's at 6:30. On the plus, we've got Bundesliga at 2:30, Bundesliga B, 2 matches available at 12:30, Drei Bundesliga at 1 o'clock, Hoffenheim 2, the sequel, and Schweinfurt, and then La Liga at 3 o'clock. Fox ONE has Serie A available, Serie B available with Frosinone and Palermo, and Liga MX. Fox Soccer Plus has the simulcast of the Serie B match. MLS Next Pro and MLS YouTube and One Football has Atlanta United 2 and Inter Miami CF 2 at 7. Once again, Maddie's on the call for that one for us. Pre-game at 6:30, kick at 7:03. St. Louis City 2 and Rapids 2's at 8. North Texas and Sporting Kansas City 2 is at 8:30. Paramount Plus has Serie A, League 2, Colchester United and Swindon Town, and USL Championships. And on the women's side, it is CONMEBOL Nations League on FS2 at 7 and 9. Fox ONE has 4 matches available from CONMEBOL Nations League and Liga MX at 11 o'clock. Fox Soccer Plus simulcasting 2 of those matches. Paramount Plus has CONCACAF qualifiers, Costa Rica and the Caymans, Jamaica and Antigua and Barbuda, and Mexico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So Saturday, it is on BN and BN Espanol, Turkish League and the CAF Champions League at 3. CBS Sports Network early on, the championship, Norwich and Ipswich. Big match for Ipswich as they're trying to stay at their place in the promotion chase, either getting into the automatic spots or staying at the top and securing home field advantage in the play-in round or the playoff round. ESPN2, early Bundesliga action. Big FOX doubleheader in Major League Soccer, Austin LAG, Portland LAFC. Golazo Network, 2 matches in the championship, back-to-back USL Championship at 8:30, and Club America and Cruz Azul at 11. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B, the league we don't talk about, and the Canadian Premier League at 4. NBC has Liverpool and Fulham at 12:30. USA has Arsenal, Bournemouth, Brentford, and Everton. BN Espanol simulcasting. ESPN Deportes, your quadruple header in the Liga. Fox Deportes has Serie A at 9 and noon. MLS at 2:30 and 4:30. Liga MX is Tigres and Chivas. That is at 7. Telemundo simulcasting that. 2 to N on Sábado Futbolero has a doubleheader at 9 and 11. Universo simulcasting the 3 matches that are on NBC. Univision simulcasting 9 and 11. Apple has all of their matches all day long. ESPN Plus has A-League, Eredivisie, Bundesliga, Drei Bundesliga, La Liga quadruple header, La Liga 2, everything in USL Championship, everything in USL League 1. Fox ONE, Serie B, Serie A, league we don't talk about, Canadian Premier League, and MLS. One Football and MLSNextPro.com have the 3 matches in MLS Next Pro. Paramount Plus has the English Championship. They have 5 matches available, 1 in League 1, 4 in Serie A, 1 in USL Championship, 1 in Liga MX. Peacock has 2 matches, 10 and 12:30. Women's side, USA and Japan have a friendly at 7 o'clock. There's going to be a new edition of Soccer for US POD coming out later today, about noon. Simulcast on Universo and HBO Max. Fox Soccer Plus, Serie B, and the Canadian Premier League. Peacock has USL Super League at 4, 7, and 7:30, and the friendly. That gets you into Sunday, and we're off and running from there. Man. Woo. Okay. So, because he has a child in university, he had to go and see and make sure that that child in the Palouse was behaving well and that everything was going on as it should at Washington State University. And for that reason, we had to push our buddy Niko Moreno back a day. And so that means that Thursday has become Friday, and it is still 7:24 in the morning on a Friday. Man, Niko, dude, where are you?
What's going on, boss? We are coming to you live from Pullman, right here, right at the heart of the university. I'm actually maybe like 5-minute drive from my son's dorm. And yeah, we just came here to handle a couple of things. He's moving out of the dorms here coming up. So because of that, we had to come do a couple of things. We're meeting the girlfriend, which is interesting, and a new little thing there. So yeah, man, I'm excited to be out here.
Oh, so the new wrinkle of the GF. We were not aware of this. Were you aware of this?
Oh yeah, it's been going on, and serious enough for her to want to meet us. So here we are.
Okay, all right. So we're gonna get intel on that next week. All right. So We'll start with Seattle and the very, very busy week that they have. And I say have because it's more than one thing, because they've already played this week. And it was a match at the Estadio Universitario, leg 1 of 2 in the Triple C in the quarters. 2-0. Tigres gets the win over Seattle. Now that you've had a couple of days to think about it, what sticks in your head?
Yeah, I'm still not as positive and as comfortable with what the Sounders did at El Volcan. Look, I understand that you were going to go to Mexico and try to get a result, and that requires maybe some tinkering of the starting 11. But when all the fans and the narrative continues to be, oh, Liga MX has all of this DP level talent and there's no salary cap, then why in the world are we leaving your most talented players on the bench in the first leg of a CONCACAF Champions League elimination round? I understand that the Sounders had a very solid first half, and I just mean that defensively. I will say that they were somewhat lucky. The Tigres, in my opinion, wasn't at their best. Burrata didn't start this game. I thought that Angel Correa did not have his best game. I thought El Buffalo looked like a llama out there. He was not the Rodrigo Aguirre of old. So I don't know. It just was not a great game for Tigres, and I thought that if the Sounders would have been clinical on goal and maybe had better opportunities, because look, all of this rant is to tell you that Jesus Ferreira should have started this game because he has 5 assists, all comes, because he is your most influential attacker, because he's a player that doesn't just create chances, he creates good opportunities. So everybody talked about, well, we had opportunities. The Sounders created chances. They just didn't put the ball away. That's true. But players like Jesus Herrera create better chances, better opportunities. And you need big-time players for big-time games. And like it or not, you look, Jesus Ferreira, and some of the hate that he gets from some people, he's played in huge games. He's played CONCACAF. He's played in a World Cup. He is a guy that has that swag. He has that opportunity that you could fill out their jersey when it comes to a game of this nature. He knows what it's like to play in a rival stadium with all this pressure. And I was just upset that Brian could have maybe used some of those combinations that had already worked, like he did in Vancouver, BC, when he played Paulo Ariel on the left, Jesus on the right. If you wanted to stick with Albert, you keep him there. And maybe if you wanted to go with Jordan Morris, who did okay, but you could tell he's still not 100% quite yet, then fine, just do that. But having some of those other playmakers, having somebody that could unlock Jordan to better positions would have been ideal when you know that a goal on the road is going to serve you so well. It's going to give you a better advantage. It's going to sit you in the driving seat. You know, we talk about LA Galaxy. At least they put 2 on the road, and even they're feeling like, well, at least we did something out there. The Sounders could have done that, in my opinion, and they just missed that opportunity. I'll also say that, look, if you're going to bring somebody off the bench, who's more proven off the bench than Paul Rothrock? Paul Rothrock, that's his thing. He comes in, he's a spark plug. You break the glass, you press the button, and there goes Paul Rothrock like a rocket from your bench. Jesus is not that guy. So when you're bringing Jesus and you're bringing Osase in the 70th minute, they're just not going to have the sort of impact that maybe other players do, because that's not their game. Jesus needs to be a starter. He needs to feel the game. He needs to settle into the game. He needs to be able to be influential right off the bat. So I don't want to crucify Brian for it, because these are the types of decisions that if they work for you, you look like a genius. And if they don't, then not so much, right? And I don't think it quite worked. I really do think that there could have been something else. I didn't mind anything else. I thought that perhaps we were going to see Tino Lopez at center back, a guy that I get he is on the younger side, but his physicality, his size, I thought it would have matched up well with what Tigres wanted to do, which was those early crosses, was going to be able to really test your center backs. And then you put Alex Roldan with all his experience back at right back. He won with Kalani. I like Kalani, I really do. But it was clear that Tigres saw something on that left side that they were like, we're going to go that route. That's where we're going to push the ball. And a lot of those moments early on and those opportunities came on the left side. So little things that I thought could have been done better. But overall, I think Seattle's still in the game of this match, right? It's just 2 goals at home. They're a different dog. They're a different team. Hopefully, we'll see how they are able to bring the intensity for that game. But I don't think it's over. I still think that the Sounders have a chance. Not a great one, to be quite frank, but I think they still have a chance.
Yep, and they're down 2, and it is going to be in the midweek. And so once again, you're looking at midweek weekend, and we are at game 2 in that run, where just so everybody's caught up in starting lineups and such. So the starting lineup in the midweek, Stephen Fry in net, Nuhu, Jackson Reagan, Alex Roldan, and KKR at the back. Christian Roldan and Spider Burnell, Rothrock, Rusnak, Areola, Jordan Morris. So you did not start, as you said, Jesus Ferreira. You didn't start Musovski. You had Dotson on the bench. Obviously, Andrew Thomas is going to be the one between the sticks for you on the weekends. You've got Baker and you mentioned Di Rosario as well. So now you come into the weekend knowing that you've got to play again in the midweek, and you are a decided favorite in the juice boxes. I mean, it's not one I know you're not going to touch, but last game on Saturday night, Seattle is a minus 189 as St. Louis City comes to town at a plus 475, draws a plus 340. How much rotation are you anticipating, considering all the work that you've got to do in the midweek in a series that you yourself is saying is not over to advance in CONCACAF?
I think you're focused on the task at hand. You're worried about Tigres, so I think the rotation will be heavy on San Luis, depending on the workload that those players get against Tigres. I mean, for all we know, this could be a 2-0 game, and then you go to overtime, or certain things, certain moments of the game could make players' time extend. There's also that wear and tear, right? Some games, if you're kind of just absorbing pressure the whole time, maybe certain players are able to have less wear and tear on their bodies because they're just kind of in their own end. So things can change, but I do feel like there's going to be a lot of rotation. Brian has been very good about rotating 14, 15 players this whole 2026. So I do think that we'll obviously see Tino Lopez. We might see a Kalani, a Cody Baker. Hassani Dotson is a guy that continues to want to get a little bit more playtime. So I'm sure that he's going to be one of those guys. You talked about Danny Mustovski. I mean, maybe he starts on Wednesday. I mean, I don't know, because you're really going to need to try to decipher the puzzle and try to figure out what best 11 will get you goals right off the bat to really put this Tigres team under rest. So, is that Musovski with more of a direct play? I think that could be something. I don't know if you want to completely knock the confidence of a Jordan Morris by sitting him down after you started him at El Volcan, which is also kind of funny, John. I mean, you could have started Morris maybe the game before just to get him a little bit of rust off, maybe play him 45, because your first game back as a starter at El Volcan, the tough task, man. That is like me putting you on, I don't know, ESPN Live or whatever network or you want to run on your first day. You know what I mean? It's something that I wasn't quite expecting to be so straightforward. But anyways, the rotation might be there. San Luis is a team that I still think is a pretty decent team. They like to play good soccer and they move the ball around well. So I know that the Sounders have been talking about staying in this shield race. Brian said, we're not going to lose it. We're not going to win it, but we're not going to lose this shield race. So I'm sure that he's going to put a very good team together to beat San Luis at home. Plus, obviously, coming home in the grass, FIFA grass, is going to be interesting how that plays out.
20 minutes each for Di Rosario, Kingston, Ferreira. Dotson gave you 13 plus. Cody Baker gave you a cup of coffee. No Tino Lopez at all. Gave you no minutes in the week, in the midweek. None from Danny Musovski. So keep an eye on that with your minutes going forward. when we look at the rest of CONCACAF from the midweek, it was LAFC putting the hammer down, and they made it look easy at points. You thought LAG was going to get blown out of the building at Toluca, and they put up a fight in the second half, so there's a fighting chance again when it comes to Carson. And then Nashville and Club America get into a staring contest, and everything's all to play for down in leg number 2. What did you think of the other 3 matchups?
Obviously, LAFC is the one that it wasn't just about how good they played, but it just seemed, and we said this on our show, by the way, too, John, that prior game against Orlando City was going to unlock that a big log that was holding up all the goals in the middle of this potential attack, and he really did. Danny Buanga got a hat trick the game before, and the team's feeling confident. They played Cruz Azul. I thought that they outplayed Cruz Azul the entire time. A good Cruz Azul team, by the way, top of the league, if I'm not mistaken, in Liga MX. A very talented squad, very well coached. So LAFC, to me, in the manner that they did it, they're getting that Son and Denny Buanga that everyone's been waiting for to return, do the same things they did last season. The midfield was so solid defensively. They just they cannot get scored on. I mean, it's such a good squad overall, top to bottom. So LAFC was impressive. Nashville, I still like. I mean, look, they did a job. They did a duty. 0-0. It works. I understand that it's not ideal. It's not ideal, but you still give yourself a chance. And maybe you push this to PKs or whatever it might be. But it wasn't the most exciting team. But I look at America and it doesn't strike me fear. It's not the America of old that you would look at and be like, man, it's not about how they score, it's when they score. There's none of that here. So I think Nashville, with this new philosophy, with the ability to just hold play, and you just got to unlock Sam. You got to be able to put him in varying positions that you did in the first game, because I thought that he could have had better services in the box to make a bigger impact. And so if you can do that, I think Nashville can push through. But I thought that they did a solid job at just, if anything, we're going to hold that 0. If anything, we're going to give ourselves a chance to move on to the next game. Sometimes you get greedy and you want to be able to get that goal in the first game, and they didn't do that. They were able to just stay compact, stay together, stay composed. So I think that gives us a chance. LA Galaxy was, frankly, a good surprise. I did not expect them to punch back, to fight back the way they did. I thought they were going to get blown out because Toluca is just so good. But, hey, you know what? They get 2 back. We'll see what happens.
The games that are coming up on Saturday. Obviously, LAG's a dog because they played in the midweek and they're having to travel to Austin. They're a plus 220. LAFC, no shock here. They're a favorite going to Portland at a minus 137. And Portland is a plus 340. I think this one could be over early, and then you'll see Marc Dos Santos kind of save folks and rotate them out to get ready for the second leg coming up in the midweek next week. You've got Charlotte and Nashville. We had Steve Cangialosi on to talk about that one. You've got Vancouver hosting NYC. You've got Dallas and St. Louis City, Sporting in San Jose. San Jose on the road. They're a minus side road favorite at Sporting, which tells you really where Sporting Kansas City is right now. Colorado, they're at home taking on Houston. Colorado is a favorite at home on the plus side. San Diego FC, they need a rebound bad. Minnesota might be that get right for them at a minus 143. And then Columbus hosting the Purple Team on Sunday night. Where is your brain gravitating when it comes to this weekend?
I never miss a Portland LAFC game when it comes to the juice boxes. And my go-to is 3.5. And depending on how teams are going, I'll take the Timbers if I feel like they have that grit. I don't think they do this year. So I definitely go LAFC. But what's the goal composed there for that LAFC?
3.5 is plus 125. It actually turns minus to plus at 3.25. So you can get some plus side action at 3.5 at a plus 125. 4.5 is a plus 300. 4 is a plus 245. So, I mean, literally, you get to 3.5 at a plus 125. That sounds like a safe play for me.
I like that. I like that safe play. That 3.5 has played good for me in this matchup in the past. I think LAFC, regardless of, and you've seen it with Mark Dos Santos, if he's going to rotate, he's not going to rotate all that much. He knows the players he needs to keep on the field. Denny Buanga's a dog. He's going to want to play every single game. You got to protect him, but I think he's going to want to play every single time. So I do feel like this LAFC team in the 3.5 is a good bet. I like that for sure. The other one that I thought was interesting and is on the same aspect of goals as well is the Colorado Houston. Houston, man, I really like that team. And I like Ben Olsen. Same thing as I like some of the players in Colorado. Stylistically playing as well. They play good ball. They want to build out of the back. Those have been some fun games for Colorado this season. Maybe not the last one that was red car wedding type, but it honestly feels like this Houston Colorado game. I like the compos at the 3.5, and I think I like Colorado in that one. And that sucks for Benny because that might get you out the door. I don't know.
3.5, it's a safe play. It's a plus 163. Everything started to turn minus to plus right at 3. So 3.5, you've got some space. It's a plus 163 there. If you're really adventurous and want to go to 4, it's plus 3.25, and then it goes up from there. But your 3.5 is a plus 163. So that seems like with those two offenses being what they are, with what we've seen from Guilherme and what we've seen from Mati Bogusz and the early returns on that roster, I think that obviously Houston can get you some goals. Can Colorado answer the bell at a plus 129 too? So, I mean, I think that you could. There's some room here to have some fun.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is one that we could even be. What's the draw like in this
plus
one as well?
240.
That sounds fun to me. I like that. And the reason of that is because there's going to be goals. Like the 3.5 is almost locked in. In Colorado and Houston, they can really go at it. I thought Houston against the Sounders, that's probably the biggest thing that the Sounders did was just keeping that shutout because Guilherme was all over. I mean, you had a game plan and it was stop Guilherme, and you couldn't do it. Guilherme was a problem, right? And now his speed as well. He was shifting back and forth with Bogusz, which I like that Benny was doing, was kind of moving him around on the flanks, switching sides. You still need to see more out of that midfield in Houston. That's the biggest thing. You just don't see enough. And I understand that you're trying to figure out the lineup and figure out McGlynn, and you're bringing in Hector Herrera sometimes a little bit later than you would, and you're not starting him because he's older. Sure, there are some things there. Defensively, it's just let's see how many goals they can maybe not score on us. You're going to give up 1 for sure, but maybe we don't have to give up 2. I feel like Bond does a really good job. He's a good goalkeeper, but I feel like he's under duress all game long, man. But yeah, I think that's one that I'm looking at. I like the draw. I'll switch it to the draw, and I like the 3.5.
So 240 on the draw and 3.5 on the plus side pretty easily. Yeah, when Griffin Dorsey got dealt from Houston to the purple team, Ben Olsen was not a happy man, and apparently had no say in the deal whatsoever. He was he was at the post-trade press conference when they were asking him about Griffin Dorsey not being a part of plans. Ben Olsen was not a happy man. So, so I'm thinking that keeping an eye on Houston and the over on a rule this season is probably the way to go. Let me bring you east. Charlotte and Nashville, Saturday night, and it's 7:30 Eastern. Charlotte is a plus-side favorite at a plus 150. That has changed even in this segment as you and I are talking. It has gone up a little bit to a plus 150. Nashville on the road is a plus 210. We know that Nashville's got some business, BIDNESS, to take care of in the midweek. And it's going to be a plus 229 on the draw. No Wilfred Zaha for Charlotte. 5 yellows in 6 matches. That's a good start for a season. And so Wilf Zaha not playing. So you're looking at a different you're looking at a different grouping for Dean Smith and Charlotte. Nashville with the Three Musketeers, they've been crushing it. The question there is, do they start all three? Does BJ Callahan start all three? Does he go more defensive-minded? Does he rotate? Does that mean that folks like Kassem and Eddie Tagset get the start? Is it Muil that starts and Bauer at the back, trying to make sure that you're ready for the long roadie? I'm intrigued by this one on a bunch of different levels.
I am too. And I actually do like Charlotte in this one. I do think Nashville is putting a lot of work in. And if anything, you want to protect a guy like Espinosa. I really don't see him starting in this one. I just think that his miles put in, and when you equate it with his age and the position that he plays, I think you want to protect him without a doubt. Maybe Sam, you can ask a little bit more. Maybe Hani Mukhtar, you could do that. But I still feel like Charlotte, even without Saha, who I cannot stand, I think Abada there can make this team play well. And when you don't have to force the ball to Saha, I feel like sometimes that team can play very fluidly. That's a fun one. What's the draw on that one?
Plus 229.
Yeah, you know what? The draw sounds good. Actually, the draw sounds good. I don't want to give this Dean Smith team too much stock. They're still winning. They once again took advantage of poor old Philadelphia that they could not buy a ladder, and if they could, it wouldn't be a W. And so. But yeah, but definitely, man, it's a game that I like the draw.
Not a shock in that one. I think San Diego's got a get-right game with Minnesota. They need a get-right game after how things have been the last couple of weeks. And then you end up on Sunday night with the purple team going to Columbus. Columbus is a big favorite. Orlando is in a world of hurt. Last two road games, they've given up 11 goals. And on a weekly basis, I would love a check-in with Atleti chasing after Champions League and chasing after Copa del Rey. I would just love it if someone at those press conferences at the Wanda Metropolitana would ask Griezmann, bro, are you keeping an eye on what's going on in Orlando? Is there a get out? Is there like a 90-day buyback? Do you have a return policy on that contract from what you're seeing? I mean, that's beyond ugly right now with the purple team.
Yeah, I got one phrase to say to Griezmann, and he comes from a philosopher named Tyrese in Too Fast, Too Furious. Ejectocito, brother. Wow. Get out, man. Get out of that business, man. It's I'm kidding. He's not gonna get out. But yeah, that is a difficult situation in Orlando. I mean, hopefully he enjoys, Disneyland or whatever, but Disney World, and that's gonna make it worth it. But yeah, look, I'm not enjoying it, but I do feel a nice little breeze when I see this team go down in flames, because I will die on the hill that thinking and lying to your fan base, scapegoating Oscar Pareja the way that you did, just basically saying you're the problem, this is going to make us better, sounded ludicrous, sounded unfair. I thought that if anything, you would have given him till the transfer window in the summer, but you didn't. And the only reason is because you wanted to brush the dirt off your shoulders and you wanted to blame somebody. So I do feel a nice breeze when I look into the Orlando games and I see them be atrocious with the ball, without the ball. Some of the real issues, which was the roster and some of the guys that they have brought in, and that, Ricardo Moreira, I got respect for him, but he has not been seeing the ball right lately, and he just has brought in some talent that I'm not really sure if it's ever gonna result in anything for Orlando.
All right. Since I know that you have to make breakfast and make everything in the Pulse the way that it is supposed to be, go ahead and hit the promo for me so you can go ahead and start your day and get your weekend rolling.
Absolutely, man. We are going to be doing today remotely, of course. What we learned this week, no Jeremiah Shamba. We're going to have my guy Tim Foss do that show with me. We're going to talk about, obviously, what happened at El Volcan, what's going to happen at Lumen Field. We're going to try to decipher what that starting 11 might look like. So wait for that. That should come out today about 6 p.m. in the Sounder Our Heart Podcast Network, as well as the YouTube channel for Sounder Our Heart. On Monday, we're going to sit down with Arielina Wall to do, as always, our Lob and Scorchers kickoff, where we'll take a look at the weekend that was in MLS, what's coming out with all of these CONCACAF Champions games, what we might see on Wednesday. So don't go ahead and wait for that. That's going to be a good one. And on Pulso Sports, there are a couple of things that I'm putting out and holding up together next week because we have not been putting a lot of content there. So we're going to be revamping that content there for Pulso this upcoming week.
If you would please, sir, when you come back in 6 days' time, we need the full intel report on the meeting with the SO and the family. We need to find out if she gets the stamp of approval. If she's the one that made the first step, then that's pretty brave. So she's pretty confident in her approach. But yes, we need full intel and information. Be safe getting back to the big city. Enjoy the Pulso, and we'll catch up with you next week, my friend. It's always great to see you.
Got you, John. Appreciate
there goes
you.
Niko Moreno. He's going to have like cup of coffee 98, considering that he is not in his own. He's not in his own house, not in his own bed. He's in the Pulso. And for those of you that have those teenagers that have now made their way into college, first summer, first couple of months away from home, and that's what it's like. And apparently, Niko's son has a girlfriend. So we're going to find out about all that. We're going to find out about all that next week, and we'll find out if the inspection went well. Whew. It's been a lot to get into this morning, but it's always fun. Thanks to Greg Garza. Thanks to Devon Kerr. Thanks to Steve Cangialosi. And thanks to Niko Moreno. Now let's get you into the juice boxes on the whole for Major League Soccer, and then we'll look at the Premier League and let you know what's going on there this weekend as they're getting back to sticks. Toronto's a plus 114 tomorrow afternoon against FC Cincinnati, who's a plus 210, draws a plus 270. Austin a plus 104, hosting LAG, who's a plus 229, your draws a plus 290. And like I said, some of these numbers have actually shifted during the show. CF Montreal, Jess Charman and Ian Joy are going to be at the Stade Saputo for that one as they host Philadelphia. Juicebox purveyors don't care. Both of them are at plus 160, and the composite draws a plus 260. Portland is your late afternoon game on Big FOX, 4:55 start. Portland a plus 340 at home against LAFC, who's a minus 137, draws a plus 320. Steve Cangialosi, Danny Higginbotham, Charlotte, and Nashville. Charlotte's a plus 150, Nashville's a plus 210, draws a plus 229. Revs, minus 110, taking on DC United, who's a plus 309, and your draws a plus 260. Messi and friends at the New, or minus 208. Red Bulls are a plus 550, draws a plus 380. Vancouver hosting NYC at a minus 154. NYC's a plus 400, draws a plus 309. Chicago, and this number has not changed from yesterday when Dell first saw it. Chicago a minus 167, draws a plus 333, and Atlanta United's a plus 430. FC Dallas and plus 104 at home, hosting St. Louis City at a plus 229, draws a plus 280. Sporting is a plus 309, as is the draw. San Jose comes to town at a minus 120. That has changed during the show. Colorado a plus 129. Houston a plus 229 on the road, draws a plus 240. Late night San Diego is a minus 143 at the Murph Dragon, hosting Minnesota United at a plus 333, and your draw is a plus 309. Sunday night soccer, Columbus hosting the Purple Team. Columbus is a minus 200. That has gone up during the show. Orlando. Purple Team is a plus 500. Draws a plus 380. So that's what you're getting into with your juice boxes on the weekend with that particular kind of activity. Premier League is back at it. And we mentioned some of the matches that are going on. We do have Friday night football. West Ham favored at home against Wolves at a minus 125. Wolves a plus 350. We'll go over the standings in a bit. Tomorrow, the early game, Arsenal, big favorite against Bournemouth at a -227. Bournemouth, the +650. 10 o'clockers, Brentford hosting Everton at a +110. Everton is a +260. Burnley at Turf Moor needs a win in the worst way. They're a +359. Brighton's a -128. Draws a +300. Liverpool hosting Fulham is the late game on Saturday at a -149. Fulham a +390. Draw is a +320. Nottingham Forest on Sunday morning early, and Aston Villa are even. Both a +170. I don't see that, but okay, fine. Draws a +240. Happy to be here, FC, hosting Newcastle at a +200. Newcastle is a road favorite at a +129. Draws a +260. Sunderland and Spurs. This is where literally I just think that they just throw these numbers. They look at each other and call each other up on the phone. Hey, how about this? Yeah, okay, fine. Sunderland and Spurs is the same as Nottingham and Villa. Literally, it hasn't moved. +170 on each side, +240 on the draw. I think they just didn't wake up, forgot to fill in the numbers, and somebody's just like, yeah, give them those same numbers. Same numbers, Sunderland and Spurs, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal, that you've got with Forest and Villa. And then Chelsea and Manchester City, they're the late game on Sunday. Manchester City's a +114. Chelsea's a +210. Your draw's a +290. Monday Night Football, Manchester United and Leeds. Manchester United, big favorite. And they are at a -161. And Leeds is a +420. And your draw is a +320. Now, the standings right now in the Prem. Arsenal is clear, but they're getting chased. Why is it taking forever to load? Maybe it just, there we go. Okay, so Arsenal, 9 points clear. Manchester City, a match in hand. So for all intents and purposes, 6 points clear with 7 to go. 70 points to 61. Manchester United is at 55 points. Villa's at 54, snapped their 3-game losing streak last time out 2 weeks ago. Liverpool's at 49 points. They start the other chase group. Liverpool's in 5th at 49. Chelsea is 6th at 48. They've lost 3 of 4. Brentford has drawn 3 in a row, unbeaten in 4. They're at 46 points. They're in 7th. Everton is 8th at 46. Worst goal difference. They've won 3 of 4 to get there. Fulham at 44 points. They have put 1 in each column their last 3. Brighton is, they've won 4 of their last 5. They're at 43 points. Well ahead of Sunderland on goal difference for 10th and 11th. Newcastle's at 42 points, ahead of Bournemouth by 1 goal. Bournemouth have 15 draws, by the way. Half of their games this year are draws. Bournemouth is at 42 points, -2 on goal difference, and they've drawn 5 in a row. Crystal Palace, match in hand, 39 points. And if they win, then they would presumably skip both Bournemouth and Newcastle and be in 12th. Leeds is in 15th at 33 points, and this is where the fun starts. Leeds at 33. They've drawn 2 in a row. Forest is unbeaten in 3. They're at 32. Spurs, 1 point in 5. And it is the beginning of the De Zerbi era. I'm in my De Zerbi era. Spurs, 30 points, 7 wins in 31. Half of them are losses, 15 losses in 31. They've lost 4 of 5 in Premier League play. West Ham is at 29 points. They've hit the column once in each 3 in their last 3, and they're at 29 points. And so that is the margins right there. 4 teams, 4 points, the last relegation spot. Burnley's at 20 points. They've lost 3 in a row. Wolves are unbeaten in 3, and they're now up to 17 points. They've won 3 of 31. They've still lost 20. So that's what you're staring at in the Premier League this weekend as that comes online. Now, checking any and all of the other story, magic number is 16. So Bart actually has the magic numbers. De Zerbi wants Spurs to play and attack. Good luck. Good luck. Guardian article, Matt Hughes, potential U.S. host cities for 2031 Women's World Cup matches are mulling a withdrawal over FIFA concerns. Chicago and Pittsburgh have declined to enter the running. Some cities have opted to focus on the Men's Rugby World Cup, and the bid approval has been delayed by reported government holdups. So a number of American cities, according to Hughes, named in the running to host matches in 31 considering withdrawing. Several cities exploring whether to focus on the Rugby World Cup. 40 stadia on the long list. World Rugby has expressions of interest from 27 cities, 33 stadia, 20 are on both lists. Chicago and Pittsburgh declined to go into the running. Source with one of the cities that held talks with FIFA and the World Rugby Cup said the latter was offering far greater commercial freedom and fewer demands regarding access to stadia. Another source at a city committed to bidding for the Rugby World Cup said the event was likely to be more profitable owing to the demographic profile of rugby supporters and a belief they'll spend more money while attending matches. That, to me, sounds like something in Southern California or Texas. We have friends who are big into the World Rugby, as is Bart. And so they've gone to see the world tournaments in San Diego and Vegas and places like that. So my guess is that San Diego would be that one of those markets to keep an eye on. So I'm guessing San Diego's World Rugby Cup, and then they'll roll from there. Okay, the FA in England is claiming that women's football in the country is at risk without WSL Academy teams in the third tier. This is from Tom Gary. Sue Day, the FA director of women's football, defended the governing body's plans to radically change the structure of women's lower leagues, including introducing 4 WSL Academy sides into the third tier. Back on Tuesday, The Guardian had the story on the proposal, which includes a mid-season split in Tier 3, a financial package of about £1 million and enhancements to the loan system, as well as more relegation spots and playoffs in Tier 4 as a part of major transformation of the Women's National League structure. Reaction mixed. Some third-tier coaches are heavily critical. Academy teams joining a senior league would be controversial, according to the article, but the FA believes young English players are getting far too few competitive minutes. Day said, quote, "The purpose of these proposals is to future-proof the women's game. We believe they'll raise standards across the Women's National League, better prepare clubs for professional competition, improve the way the loan market operates, and increase meaningful and competitive minutes for young English players. Proportion of WSL players who are England qualified has dropped from about 2/3 in 17-18 to just over a quarter this season." Sonia Bonpastor told the BBC she was concerned there's too big a gap between academy football and the WSL. So we'll keep an eye on that story as it continues. York City on the verge of promotion into the Football League. They've put up 109 points in the National League, which is the 5th tier. And so can York City set a points record on their way in? Keep an eye on that. A bizarre own goal. Nottingham Forest and Porto, a 1-1 draw. And that was a crazy own goal. 2 minutes after Porto actually got the lead, Carvalho William scored in the 11th, and then Martín Fernandez trying to pass it back to his keeper. It went in the net. And so Chris Wood returns for the first time in 6 months. Nottingham Forest has everything in their hands when it comes to the second leg at City Ground next Thursday. Could be the first continental semifinal for the club since 1984. Palace, 3-0 over Fiorentina. Jean-Philippe Mateta, a penalty. Tyreek Mitchell in 31st. Ismail Assar in the 90th. So happy to be here, FC, making inroads in Conference League over Fiorentina. They could be in the Conference League semis if they hang on in the second leg. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What else is going on before we get out of here on a Friday? And thanks for all of you folks for hanging out, as you always have done all week long. Don't forget, Best of SDH AM will be on the Off the Woodwork podcast section and on the Odyssey app. That'll be up mid-morning tomorrow. Some of the great guests that we've had this week, and you get the chance to relive those interviews coming up in a bit. Tyler Adams apparently is fit for Bournemouth and Arsenal. Mikel Arteta's contract talks are on hold amid the title pursuit. Ivan Toney in Saudi Arabia is hinting that Saudi refs want Ronaldo to win the title. That's going to be a good way to get in the good graces of officials, especially in a stretch run. Your trending rumors, Miles Lewis Skelly and Ethan Wanyeri signed long-term deals last summer at Arsenal, but are among 5 players could be allowed to leave to raise funds for new arrivals, according to the BBC. Nwaneri went out on loan to Marseille in January. Lewis Skelly's been a backup option. Arsenal won at least £100 million for the pair. Dortmund and other Premier League clubs are interested, as they are academy players and would generate pure profit in Arsenal's accounts. Gunners are also ready to listen to offers for Gabriel Jesus, Ben White, and Gabriel Martinelli. Real Madrid could step up their efforts to sign Bayern Munich's Michael Olise, as reported by Christian Falk. And that means that given left back Alvaro Carreras' time and providing an assist for Harry Kane in the semifinal, in that quarterfinal as well, Los Blancos were now even more determined to sign Olise, thinking of making an offer worth €160 million. Bayern are under no pressure to leave, and Liverpool are also interested. Plenty of talk about Morgan Rogers and his future. TalkSport and the Mirror suggesting £80 million as the starting point to open transfer talks. The Telegraph has put the figure at around 100. Likely to leave Villa if they don't qualify for Champions League: Chelsea, United, Arsenal, Liverpool, PSG, Bayern Munich interested. AC Milan looking to strengthen their attack with the futures of Rafa Leao and Christian Pulisic uncertain, according to Corriere dello Sport. Replacements they're looking at: Moise Kean, Fiorentina; Lewandowski, Barcelona; Chelsea's Bayern Munich loanee Nico Jackson; Al-Qadsiya's Matteo Retegui; Al Hilal's Darwin Nunez. Barcelona determined to sign Atletico's Julian Alvarez. Negotiations delicate since Atletico doesn't want to negotiate, according to Diario Sport. Atleti says Alvarez is non-transferable, and they're confident that they can extend his deal. So hang on to that. And we also, yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, but apparently Neymar has been having interest from Major League Soccer teams. FC Cincinnati has been exploring options to bring him to the States. So a source told ESPN's Natalia Ferrao Cincinnati has initiated contact with him and the reps to gauge his interest and open preliminary discussions regarding a move. Go ahead, sign him. Go ahead, go for it. Team talk: Liverpool and Manchester City joined Arsenal in the race for Leverkusen striker Christian Kofane. United Casemiro could agree to a, quote, special deal to join Messi and friends when his Red Devils contract ends in the summer. Manchester United sees Stuttgart midfielder Angelo Stiller as a genuine option for the transfer window in the summer. No, also interest from Liverpool and Newcastle. That's from Team Talk. Gazzetta dello Sport: Juve really want to sign Liverpool's Alisson Becker, who wants to return to Italy. Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, United among the clubs who have been notified that RB Leipzig and Castello Luqueba are in agreement that they will part ways in the summer. That's from Team Talk. Everton are prepared to make a move for John Stones, likely to leave the Etihad on a free this summer. Football Insider. Nicolo Shira, Besiktas interested in Andre Onana on loan at Trabzonspor. Football Insider: Joshua Zirkzee could be allowed to leave United in the summer if they find a replacement for him. Manchester City exploring a move to re-sign Sheffield Wednesday keeper Pierce Charles. The speculation continues to grow about James Trafford's future. Brighton could have an advantage in their efforts to sign Cologne winger Said El-Mala, as they also want to bring in his brother Malek. That's from Sky Germany. Hamburg planning to hold talks with Arsenal about a permanent transfer for Fabio Vieira, who's been on loan at the Bundesliga club. That's from the three-letter paper. And Football Insider one more time: Southampton midfielder Shea Charles is being looked at by Crystal Palace, competition from Nottingham Forest. So that's your rumors and notes on the weekend involving all of those. De Zerbi says, quote, "I am not better than Frank or Tudor, but passion can restore the Spurs DNA," because you're at your MD -1s. And so De Zerbi, the third head coach to take charge this season, 7 games to get them and keep them out of the relegation zone. "I consider them as very good coaches," quote, "but I try to bring my style, myself, my character, personality, and passion to help the players show their quality and then to achieve our target. The most important part is the target," meaning avoiding relegation. "My style is one part the style of play, other part is about the character and personality. I don't have time for principles or build-up. I want to give organization with the ball and without the ball. What I want to do and what I want to achieve is the character, the right spirit, courage to play and attack. DNA of this club and the squad is to find the goal and to score. In this part, I can be able to transfer my principal. And he knows that he only has the 7 games to keep Spurs up from relegation. De Zerbi was asked if he had a message for the fan base in preparation. He says, I don't have a message, but directed something at his players and staff outlining they have to deserve the support with their performances on the pitch. Quote, I have no message because in the last game against Nottingham Forest, they were fantastic before the game. The message is for my staff and players. We have to deserve their support because the fans are suffering like us, like the players. For the fans, there's just one team. The players can change teams, but for the fans, it is unique. There's just one. We have to make the fans happy, playing well with the right spirit, attitude, and behavior on the pitch. Then it is easier to make points. So he says he's not better than Frank or Tudor. Liam Rosenior gave an update on the Enzo Fernandez situation. He confirmed Enzo will not play against Manchester City despite apologizing for his recent comments to the media. Fernandez and his agent, who initially criticized the punishment, have said sorry to the club, but the sanction stands. Rosenior had a really good conversation with him, had 3 or 4 with him. He apologized to me, the club, and we'll deal with that after a massive game on Sunday. It's a serious meeting about something very serious to Enzo. I said every single step along this way, I'm not questioning Enzo's character, not questioning who he is as a person. I believe people make mistakes, and you can't overstep the punishment for the mistake. We made a sanction. We made a decision. I made a decision, and what I want from Enzo is for him to go on from here and have an outstanding career. No, he won't play on Sunday, but hopefully after that, he'll be a massive part of the group moving forward. Still a few hurdles need to be overcome that I won't go into, but at the same time, I want every player really, really focused on a huge run-in. So Enzo not playing against Manchester City in a big game for them. So that's what you're staring at with the Chelsea situation and Enzo Fernandez. Liam Rosenior not backing down at all. And then, if he did, then you'd kind of sit there and you would wonder about Liam Rosenior and his, it's like, okay, is it one set of rules here and then another set of rules over here? So that's probably the larger point in all of this is that Liam Rosenior is sticking to his guns in this one. So you get that. So you got to give the man credit, even though it's an unpopular decision. So that's what you're hunting for from Chelsea this weekend with the big matchup against Manchester City. Andy Robertson has announced his departure from Liverpool at the end of the year, and let's see, I think Villa took care of their Europa League tie. Ollie Watkins had a brace, and that sets up the weekend. I think we're good now. Thanks to all of you, obviously. Let me see who was in this morning to start the weekend off with us. Ropes, Dell. I know Dell was very, very busy in the chat. Good morning, Bart. And good morning to everybody that was just watching this morning. Didn't comment in on the Twitch pitch, but we love when you do comment when the show airs and however you consume the show. So obviously, very, very cool stuff there as well. Once again, remember, this afternoon, doubleheader. AIS at Whitfield Academy. I will have those calls for you on the network 5 and 7. And then Maddie at 6:30 on the network. SDH 1 and 2 will be active. Maddie at 6:30 with the pregame show at Land United 2 and Inter Miami CF 2. That one is going to be on one channel. I'll be on the other channel. Then after tonight, we'll both be up bright and early as Atlanta United Academy is going on from the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. Then after that, later on in the day, 7:30, Five Stripes Countdown, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app with Abe and Maddie. Game with Mike and Jason from Soldier Field in Chicago, 8:40 kick. And then after the match, a full Five Stripes, a full time report was what I was trying to say after the match in Chicago. And then we will continue to roll through the weekend as we do. All right. So thanks to Niko. Thanks to Steve Cangialosi. Thanks to Devon Kerr and the B Concourse at Hartsfield. Thanks to Greg Garza. Thanks to Max Anderson, the play-by-play voice in Chicago. Thanks to Andre Bomar and our friends at the UPSL as we start our coverage earnest on UPSL Georgia. Thanks to Costa Smirniotis, the SVP for the Canadian Premier League, about everything that they're trialing this year when it comes to Wenger offside, when it comes to injuries, substitutions, all the things. That's what we're at. So thanks to Costa Smirniotis, thanks to Casey White, thanks to Bart, thanks to Abe, thanks to you. Another go-around, another week of SDH AM, and it's always fun to break everything down every single week. Next week, it's Open Cup, so we're going to be talking to a lot of folks there. I know on Monday at 10:30, we're catching up with Chad Emerson and Chattanooga FC. As that kind of starts our coverage, we do have Tentacles reached out. We have put up the siren for Charlotte Independence and for Richmond and for a bunch of other folks, and we will keep you posted on that. Obviously, we'll have coverage from Chattanooga in the midweek, and we'll let you know what's going on there with all of our normal partners and all of our friends that come by and visit every single week, and we'll let you know what's going on in the world of soccer. So it's another go-round of SDH AM, another week of SDH AM, and since it is the end of the week, that means that one thing and one thing only happens as we wrap up another week here on the morning show. Give a listen, enjoy, be safe, enjoy the games this weekend, regardless of level. We'll be back here before you know it, like this afternoon and tonight. Mucho plot to y'all. Play it safe. We'll see you in a bit.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours, the